Hi, everyone. We're going to talk today about how to count atoms, elements, and molecules. Talking about each of those different parts. An atom is the smallest unit. Atom is the smallest unit, and that we count the subscripts. The element, the way we count those is it's the number of different, and that's important, capital letters. And then the number of molecules is equal to the number of um, big pieces, I'm going to call them. So I included a picture over here of a Lego Mario to briefly just talk about like what am I actually looking for when I'm counting atoms, elements, and molecules. So if I were to use a Lego example, the number of atoms, well, that would just be equal to the number of pieces. So how many individual pieces are there? Pieces. I can't spell. How many individual pieces are there in this entire puzzle? Let's say that this was a 30 piece um, creation that somebody made. Then I would say that I have 30 atoms. It's made of 30 small individual different parts. If I was looking at the number of elements, I would say, ooh, hello. I would say, how many different pieces are there? Well, we can see that there's a red, a yellow, a black, and then this white color. Red, yellow, black, and white. That means that there would be four different elements. So, yes, there's a whole bunch of uh, 30 different pieces that are making up this thing. However, the only different pieces are red, black, yellow, and white. That's it. And then in terms of the number of molecules, if I was looking at this example, I would say how many Marios are there? There's one Mario. And so there would be one molecule. There's 30 things that make up that one Mario, but that's just one Mario. And so when we get into counting atoms, looking at molecular compounds, we follow very much the same formula. So atoms, elements, molecules. In terms of the number of atoms, I said that you include the superscripts or the subscripts, excuse me. So we have two hydrogens, one sulfur, and four oxygens. So 4 plus 1 plus 2 would give us 7 atoms. Number of elements, we have H, S, and O, meaning we have 3 elements. And the number of molecules, there's just one H2SO4, so we have one molecule. Where that can get a little bit more confusing is if we have something like this, Ca3PO4 2. Count the atoms, elements, and molecules of that. So in terms of the number of atoms, this is where this gets really confusing. So I would start by saying, well, we have 3 Cas. Awesome. How many POs do I have? Well, I have 2 phosphoruses, and I have 4 times 2. I have 4 times 2 oxygens, so 8 oxygens. So 8 plus 2 is 10 plus 3 is 13. So that's where these can get a little bit confusing is if there's numbers on the outside of the brackets, you need to multiply them in the brackets. And remember that basically inside the brackets, you have P1O4, and then you just multiply the 4 times 2 and you multiply the 1 times 2. So that's the number of atoms. Elements is the same thing. We have a Ca, so one capital letter there. So that's one element, 2 elements, 3 elements here. Number of molecules, still only one. Even though there's a lot of parts to it, there's still only one. Where this can get increasingly confusing is let's say we have something like COOH, atoms, elements, and molecules. In terms of the number of atoms we have, if I draw the little ones, there's 4 different atoms here. So I have 4 atoms. Now, elements, the key thing is the number of different capital letters. So I have 1 carbon, I have an oxygen, and a hydrogen. So there are only, even though there's 4 different letters, there is only 3 elements. We have carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. Those are the 3 different elements. And in terms of number of molecules, it's 1. And then the last example I want to show you is what happens if you have an example that looks like this. Another way of writing this is you could say it looks like this, 2H2O, like that. Atoms, elements, molecules. So the total number of atoms would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 atoms. There's 3 in each of these hydrogens. The number of elements, well, it's still only hydrogen and oxygen, Even though there's two different things here, it's just H and O, so there's only two elements. And then the number of molecules, we actually have two different molecules here, which is shown also by this balancing coefficient. So our answer here would be 6 atoms, 2 elements, and 2 molecules. It's a super quick little flash how to number and count the number of atoms, elements, and molecules. Hopefully that was helpful. Let me know if you have any comments and questions down in the comment section.